Hey guys, this is Checkmate Chess, and today I want to talk about a special day back during the pandemic era, and that was a Wednesday, January 6th, 2021. I was off from school because my school, which was very lenient on scheduling, they had Wednesday off, and that was only a day for office hours. And I decided that day to watch TV because at the time I was interested in, just the old form of media, television. Um, and I forgot whether that day I actually knew there were going to be like a certification of like electoral votes, from the election. But regardless, I decided to tune into CBS, which is um, my personal favorite news channel just because of their graphics. And, it was Lester Holt who was commenting on what was going on. But let's go back. For a bit. The TV was in the opposite corner. My mom was actually working in the room where I was watching. Her back was faced towards me and the television. She was just working on her own business for her job online, and they were just using C-SPAN for the electoral votes. Ted Cruz was shown, and they were just contesting Arizona's electoral votes. And then pause. The recording just paused. And then they went to Lester Holt. And when they updated it all and showing just, like the videos overhead with a bird's eye view on the protesters just coming in, all their flags. One of their flags was actually one that I actually have in this house. It's from the previous owner of the house, the 76 one, and that was interesting to me. But of course, you had all the libertarian flags and all the other American style flags that were, I guess, supposed to be nationalist or patriotic. All of that was happening. And the funniest moment was when they finally got footage inside the Capitol. And it's just all these people walking in a straight line. Like, they're just casually walking in. And Lester Holt was just saying, like, oh, I think they're now being let out of the Capitol. That was just the funniest moment to me, because that was not the case, which was quickly shown after. Now, of course, a lot of people felt many ways about that event. When it was happening live, in a twist of feelings from what I usually would probably feel, I actually felt excited. Because I've seen other countries like France, Ukraine, and, before the pandemic, I was very focused on anti-government demonstrations in like Kazakhstan and Lebanon and all these other developing countries. And a lot what these countries have in common is the fact that the people just revolt. Like, they go and revolt for things that would just be complaints here in America. And, with a defining example like France, but all those other countries I just mentioned, they literally are either a step away or literally are just burning their government offices, the Capitol, the Rotunda, the Parliament. They're just one step away from literally wreaking havoc, and the only thing that's stopping them is just, the police But the police are few and far in between, and they look desperate in those countries, unlike here in America, which is highly policed. So I was, despite all the, despite the whole thing about all those workers in the Capitol and the senators and the representatives probably fearing for their lives, or just worried and concerned. Although all of them were safe, I have to level off, of course, and think about those people. Now, ultimately, though, my afterthoughts. My afterthoughts of January 6th is, to me it was a significant event. But even though I was a supporter of Joe Biden at the time, and, the Democratic Party, which I'm not now, I did not view this event like it was truly a defining moment in American history, like I think a lot of the media portrayed it to be. I didn't really view it as a threat to democracy, because even though I was disappointed about what was being fought for here, I was actually, of course, excited. I was like, this is what democracy is actually supposed to be like. You have to make these senators fearful for their lives. You have to make these representatives fearful for their lives. So yes, I understand, like, okay, yeah, I don't want them killed. But at the same time, you have to, years of corporate lobbying and, F.E.C.V United, all this corporate influence in our country, and finally it seems like, the people who are lobbied hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, millions of dollars, all of them have net worths of over $1 million in the Senate, I think. They're all being held, their feet are all being held to the flames. And if only we could have something like that for Medicare for all, for social welfare, for all those people who literally just are starving to death. All the seniors who are starving to death, all the disabled people who are starving to death. All the people who, are just being screwed over by the system, regardless of their race, gender, age, capabilities. When it comes ultimately to the politics of it, um, they really just are trying to kill Donald Trump. Like, this one guy who already lost, they're just trying to still, like, kill him, like, just for using his freedom of speech. Like, there was, never, the impeachment articles. Let's go back a little. The impeachment articles, are about, like, treason and high crimes, and the main claim is that Donald Trump made incitement of insurrection. But as far as I remember, and as far as I know, I don't remember Donald Trump ever saying that you the people, need to go down to the Capitol, destroy Nancy Pelosi's office, try and kill the senators who vote in favor of the electoral results. You gotta do that. You have to kill them. You have to throw fire into the theater. No, I don't remember Donald Trump ever saying, like, something along those lines or similar. And so, the impeachment was, again, partisan. The House was the only body that managed to vote before Donald Trump was out of office. And, the Senate, of course, at the end of it, did not get the 2/3 majority for impeaching Donald Trump fully, just like the last one. And obviously it was just going to be unrealistic because, the Senate is truly divided almost evenly to this day for Republicans and Democrats. And yes, I will acknowledge, of course, there were people like Liz Cheney, Pat Toomey, who voted for impeachment. But I mean, look at them. Liz Cheney literally lost in a landslide. Pat Toomey retired, and other Republicans are either just holding on to their seats, which are very few, or they're just retired or they lost in their primary elections, like Liz Cheney. With light of the recent news of Donald Trump being casted off the ballots in Colorado and Maine, additionally, all the extra footage of January 6th that has been revealed ever since the Republicans won the House again. And, finally, all those prosecutions against Trump, it really makes you think, like, wow, they're really trying to kill this guy, right? Even after he's lost. And even after he is truly just out of power. He is not in power, okay? And they're still trying to kill him, And with that impeachment and all the other actions they have done, I mean, it begs the question, like, why are they so adamant to get this guy? And of course, you may have heard or you may think this, and it's just that, like, oh, Donald Trump was the one guy who actually, like, stood up to the establishment. Donald Trump was, his election was actually, like, what happens when a democracy, genuinely votes for what they believe in or whatever. You might think that, which has some merit, but, I like to just go back on the one simple notion that Donald Trump basically was almost in lockstep, through his policies were in lockstep with what the establishment always wants. He made tax breaks for the rich in his, first year in office. He just continued deportations. Although he did them less than Obama. He was a supporter of Saudi Arabia and recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, being the most emboldened supporter of Israel, for all the presidents, of all the presidents. And most of all, which, many people like to say is the opposite, but he was a continued supporter of imperialism. He for sure did not start any new wars, but he continued to kill many civilians through a rapid increase in drone strikes. And sure, he tried a peace plan with Afghanistan, but, he just continued sanctions in Syria, starving the people there of basic resources. And, he still just continues to occupy Iraq and antagonized Iran into almost nuclear war. Despite the fact that, of course, yes, he did manage to keep the peace, he still was just in line with what Obama did back then. He was in line with what George Bush Jr. did back then. He was in line with Bill Clinton, George Bush Sr., Reagan, even with Jimmy Carter when it comes to deregulation. And the only key difference, though, is that he was just such a bad face for all of this. Oh, and one more thing. He supported making a vaccine for COVID-19. He was the president who started the vaccine with warp speed. And the key difference of Donald Trump compared to all the other presidents is that he did it, he did it while having a bad face, because people accuse him of being racist, of being white supremacist, of just being a total jerk, of being a Russian puppet. And this bad face led to every issue that would usually just go under to be very known about. Like, people actually started caring about the deportations. And that's why Donald Trump wasn't so successful as Obama as trying to deport so many people, because people in local governments, had to take action because of all this backlash for deporting migrants. Um, you know, Donald Trump, his attempted coup in Venezuela, and his attempted and failed coup of Bolivia were also probably very well known, just because it's Donald Trump, this villain-like character that the media made up, trying to influence other countries. If this was Obama, it would just be like hidden under the rug, and there would just be no outlets actually talking about it other than maybe Democracy Now! And the tax breaks. Many presidents before Donald Trump have done tax breaks for the rich, ever since World War II especially. And it's usually just not talked about, but of course, again, Trump is made to be like a villain, and so the villain does a bad thing. Oh, you gotta report on that. You gotta report on it. And truth be told, that tax break actually made some tax breaks for the poor and middle classes. Just not as much as the rich. And so, ultimately, the establishment just needed to get rid of him. They want a new person to be on the face of imperialism, on those drone strikes in Syria, Iraq, Iran. They want a president who can gloss over all of that. They want a president who looks beautiful in the pages promoting a new vaccine that has been rushed and with many details that will not be uncovered for decades. They want a president who can do the tax breaks and deregulation, but with euphemisms. They want a president who won't just literally state that they're going to Syria for the oil. We're coming for the oil. We're just going for the oil. They don't want that. And, pardon all of that mumbo jumbo I just said, but the overall arching truth is, they just want to remove Donald Trump off the ballot just because he's just such a bad figure for forwarding all the establishment's ideals. Ultimately, though, Donald Trump, when he gets reelected into office, he will just do the same interests of what the establishment wants. He will probably not forward anything that was seen potentially as viable back during his administration, like pardoning Edward Snowden or Julian Assange. But since Donald Trump is an individual who will not yield his personality, his own goals and ideas to the corporate elite, to the establishment. He will not yield to them, although he may literally just do the same things they want him to do in the end. He has the bad face. He has all the labels of racism and white supremacy on him. They can't allow that because they just don't want the people to still know about all the hidden stuff being uncovered right on television once again. just because it's Donald Trump doing it. And so that's ultimately my afterthought on January 6th. And everything that is against Donald Trump that happened since. This is just my take. This video was not well researched. This video was not well fact checked. If you feel offended, I am sorry, but I'm not at the same time. It's just my opinion. Thank you for watching.